Story 1. The Refueling Loop. The fuel gauge has been on empty for 300 miles, and every time I pull into a gas station to refill, I watch myself from yesterday already there, filling up the same truck at the same pump. When yesterday me finishes and drives away, my fuel gauge drops back to empty instantly, as if the refueling never happened to my version of the truck. I've stopped at 14 gas stations. At each one I see a previous version of myself, yesterday, 2 days ago, a week ago, all filling the same truck, all trapped in different loops of the same recurring fuel stop. The attendant finally spoke to me at the last station. She said, "You've been coming here every day for 6 months, always surprised, always confused, always running on empty." My name is Curtis Brennan, 52 years old, 24 years driving long-haul trucks. I ran southern routes primarily, Texas to Florida and back, occasionally up to Tennessee or down to Mexico. Reliable work, steady income, nothing glamorous but honest. February 4th, 2025, I was hauling industrial parts from Houston to Jacksonville. Standard 4-day run across the Gulf states. I'd done this route hundreds of times. I left Houston with a full tank, 200 gallons of diesel, enough to get me to Louisiana before needing to refuel. My Freightliner Cascadia had a range of about 1,400 miles on a full tank if I drove conservatively. I always drove conservatively. Fuel was expensive, and every gallon saved was money in my pocket. The first day was completely normal. I crossed into Louisiana, stopped at a truck stop outside Lake Charles around 7 p.m. Fuel gauge showed I had about a quarter tank remaining. I pulled up to pump 6, my lucky pump, I always joked, though there was nothing lucky about it. Just habit. I got out, started the pump, went inside to pay and grab coffee. When I came back out, the pump showed 187 gallons dispensed. That was way too much. My tank only held 200 gallons total, and I'd had 50 gallons remaining. The math didn't work. I checked my fuel gauge. Still showed a quarter tank. Exactly what it had shown before I filled up. "Hey," I called to the attendant, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes. "Your pump's broken, says it dispensed 187 gallons, but my gauge hasn't moved." She walked over, looked at the pump, looked at my truck. "Gauge must be stuck. Happens sometimes. You got fuel, though. Pump doesn't lie." "But the gauge." "Trust the pump, you're full." I paid for 187 gallons, over $600, and got back on the road. The gauge still showed a quarter tank, but I figured she was right. Gauge was malfunctioning. I'd get it checked at the next service stop. I drove through the night. By morning, I was approaching the Mississippi border. The fuel gauge had dropped to empty, warning light on, low fuel alarm beeping. That was impossible. I'd just filled up 200 miles ago. Even if the gauge had been stuck before, it was moving now, and it showed empty. I pulled into a truck stop outside Gulfport, coasted up to the pumps, engine sputtering. I was genuinely running on fumes. As I got out to fill up, I saw another truck pull in. Same model as mine, same company colors. It parked at pump 6, the same pump I was about to use. The driver got out. I stared. It was me. Curtis Brennan, wearing the same clothes I'd worn yesterday, moving with the same tired gait I'd had after a full day of driving. I watched yesterday me start pumping fuel, watched him go inside, watched him come back out, check the pump reading, 187 gallons, and shake his head in confusion. I approached yesterday me. "Hey, excuse me." He didn't respond, didn't even look at me, just got back in his truck and drove away. I stood there, frozen. What the hell had I just seen? I went to pump 6. It was available now that yesterday me had left. I started filling my tank. The numbers climbed: 10 gallons, 50 gallons, 100 gallons, 150 gallons, 187 gallons. Exactly the same amount as yesterday. I checked my fuel gauge. Still empty. The warning light still on. I went inside. The same attendant from yesterday was there. Same tired eyes. "Your pump's broken," I said. "It says it dispensed 187 gallons, but my gauge still shows empty." "Gauge must be stuck," she said, identical words to yesterday. "Happens sometimes. You got fuel, though. Pump doesn't lie." We had this exact conversation yesterday. She looked at me blankly. "First time I've seen you, sir." "No, yesterday. Lake Charles. You told me the gauge was stuck." "I work in Gulfport, not Lake Charles. You must have me confused with someone else." But she looked identical. Same woman, same tired eyes, same response. I paid. Another $600 and left. My fuel gauge still showed empty. I drove toward Alabama. 50 miles later, the truck started sputtering again. I was out of fuel. Again. This was impossible. I just filled up, but the gauge showed empty, and the engine was dying. I coasted into another truck stop. This one was in Mobile. As I pulled up to the pumps, I saw 2 trucks already there. Both identical to mine, both at Pump 6. One was yesterday me from Lake Charles. The other was earlier today me from Gulfport. Both filling up, both looking confused, both pumping exactly 187 gallons. I watched them. They didn't see me, didn't see each other. Each one existed in their own moment, their own loop, unaware of the others. When they drove away, I pulled up to Pump 6, filled my tank, 187 gallons, gauge still empty. The attendant inside looked exactly like the previous 2. Same tired eyes. "Your pump's broken," I started to say, but she interrupted. "Gauge must be stuck. Happens sometimes. You got fuel, though. Pump doesn't lie." Word for word, the exact same script. "How many times have I been here?" I asked. She looked at me, and for the first time her expression changed. Something flickered in her eyes. Recognition. "You've been coming here every day for 6 months," she said quietly. "Always surprised, always confused, always running on empty." 6 months? That's impossible. This is my 2nd day on this route. For you, maybe. But I see you every day. Same time, same pump, same 187 gallons, same confusion. You're in a loop, driver, can't you feel it? I backed away from her. "I'm not in a loop. I'm driving Houston to Jacksonville. This is a new trip." "Check your logbook." I pulled out my electronic logbook. It showed continuous driving, not 4 days, not a week. 6 months of continuous driving on the same route. Houston to Jacksonville over and over, every entry the same. Leave Houston, refuel in Louisiana, refuel in Mississippi, refuel in Alabama, arrive Jacksonville, return to Houston, repeat. 183 trips, all identical, all recorded in my logbook. 6 months of the same route. But I only remembered starting 2 days ago. "What's happening to me?" I whispered. "You're stuck," the attendant said. "Somewhere between Houston and Jacksonville, you got caught in a recurring pattern. Your truck runs out of fuel every 50 miles no matter how much you pump. You refuel and the fuel vanishes. You're burning the same tank over and over, never making progress. Just circling through the same stops, the same moments. How do I stop it?" "I don't know. I'm stuck too. I work this shift every day. Same customers, same conversations, same tired eyes. We're all stuck in our patterns. Repetition becomes reality. There has to be a way out. Maybe there is, but I haven't found it, and neither have you for 6 months." I left, got back in my truck, drove toward Florida. The fuel gauge stayed on empty the entire time. 50 miles later, I had to stop again. Another truck stop, another version of myself already there, filling up at Pump 6, pumping 187 gallons, looking confused. I counted the versions of myself I could see. 5, all at different pumps now, not just Pump 6, all filling their tanks, all trapped in the same loop. How many versions were there? How many Curtis Brennans were driving this route, stopping every 50 miles, refueling endlessly, never reaching Jacksonville? I didn't refuel this time. I kept driving. The engine sputtered, died. I coasted onto the shoulder. Maybe if I didn't refuel, the loop would break. Maybe I'd finally run out for real and something would change. I sat on the shoulder for 6 hours. No tow trucks came. No other drivers stopped. It was like I didn't exist. Finally, a truck pulled up behind me, same model as mine. The driver got out, walked up to my window. It was me, but older, much older. This version of Curtis Brennan looked 70, 80 years old. Weathered face, white hair, bent posture. "You're trying to break the loop by not refueling," old me said. "I tried that too, 20 years ago. Didn't work. You just sit here until you give up and walk to the next station. Then you're back in the loop." 20 years? You've been in this loop for 20 years. Time's different in the loop. For you, it's been 6 months. For me, it's been 43 years. We're all the same person, just at different points in our trapped existence. Some of us have been here for decades. Some just started yesterday. How do I get out? You don't. You just drive. Refuel, drive, refuel. That's the existence now. You're not Curtis Brennan the trucker anymore. You're Curtis Brennan the fuel loop. Your identity is the repetition. I refuse to accept that. You'll accept it eventually. When you've refueled 10,000 times, when you've seen yourself at every station, at every pump, at every moment. When you realize there's no destination anymore. Just the stops in between. Old me got back in his truck and drove away. His fuel gauge, I noticed, was also on empty. I sat there until dark. Then I walked to the next truck stop 5 miles down the road. Another version of myself was there, refueling. I went inside, the same attendant, same tired eyes. "I need to break the loop," I said. "There's only one way," she said. "Stop driving, get out of the truck, walk away, leave it behind." "And go where?" "I don't know. But as long as you're in that truck, as long as you're driving that route, you're in the loop. The truck is the trap. The route is the trap. You have to abandon it." "I can't. It's my job, my career, 24 years of driving." "Then you'll loop forever, refueling endlessly, burning fuel that doesn't exist, driving miles that don't count." "That's the choice." I went back outside, looked at my truck, or rather the nearest version of my truck. There were dozens now, all parked at various stations along the route. All versions of me, all trapped. Could I walk away? Could I abandon the truck, the career, the identity I'd built for 24 years? I tried. I started walking, east toward Jacksonville on foot. I walked for hours past truck stops. At each one I saw myself refueling, different versions, different stages of the loop. After 15 miles of walking, I came to a truck stop and saw my truck parked there. The version I'd abandoned. Somehow it had moved ahead of me, or I'd looped back to it. The driver's door was open, the keys were in the ignition, the fuel gauge showed empty. I stood there, staring at it, the truck waiting, the route waiting, the loop waiting. I got in. I couldn't help it. It was automatic. Muscle memory. 24 years of getting in, starting the engine, driving. I drove to the pumps. Pump 6. Started refueling. 187 gallons. The attendant came on the intercom. "Gauge must be stuck. Happens sometimes. You got fuel, though. Pump doesn't lie." I paid. Got back in. Drove. 50 miles later, the fuel gauge was empty again. I've stopped counting the stations, stopped counting the versions of myself, stopped counting the gallons. I just drive now. Refuel. Drive. Refuel. The loop has become my life. Or my life has become the loop. I can't tell the difference anymore. Sometimes I see the old version of myself, the one who's been here 43 years. Sometimes I see newer versions, me's who just entered the loop yesterday. We're all driving the same route, all refueling at the same stations, all trapped in the same 50-mile pattern. Houston to Jacksonville, except we never reach Jacksonville, we just refuel forever in the space between. If you're a trucker, check your fuel gauge, check it carefully. If it's not moving the way it should, if you're refueling more often than makes sense, if you see yourself at the pump, get out. Walk away. Abandon the truck. Because once you're in the fuel loop, you never stop refueling. You just pump 187 gallons over and over. At pump 6 at the same stations with the same attendant telling you the gauge must be stuck. Forever. I'm refueling now. At pump 6, 187 gallons, the gauge still shows empty. It always shows empty. It will always show empty. That's the loop. Story 2, the cargo shift. The load monitoring system shows my cargo shifting, but every time I check the trailer, the pallets are perfectly secured. Then I realize the weight isn't moving side to side. It's moving forward through time. The cargo I loaded yesterday is slowly becoming the cargo I'll deliver tomorrow, and the space in between is collapsing. I can see it now when I open the trailer. 23 pallets arranged normally but with temporal gaps between them. Pallet 12 exists in Tuesday, pallet 13 exists in Friday. I'm hauling cargo across 4 different days simultaneously, and when the load finally converges into a single timeline, the temporal compression will happen to me too. I'll experience this entire week in one instant. My name is Yolanda Martinez, 46 years old, 17 years driving trucks. I specialized in scheduled deliveries, cargo that had to arrive on specific dates at specific times. Medical supplies, perishable goods, time-sensitive documents. Precision was my specialty. I'd never missed a delivery window in 17 years. February 11th, 2025, I picked up a load in Newark, New Jersey. Destination, Phoenix, Arizona. 23 pallets of electronics, computers, servers, networking equipment. Delivery scheduled for February 15th, 10 a.m. 4-day transit time, tight but manageable. The warehouse crew loaded the pallets. I watched them strap everything down. Standard procedure. The load monitoring system, sensors in the trailer that detect weight distribution, showed everything balanced perfectly. 45,000 pounds, evenly distributed across 23 pallets. I sealed the trailer, departed Newark at 2 p.m. The first day was normal. I drove through Pennsylvania into Ohio, stopped for the night outside Columbus. The load monitoring system showed no shifts. Everything stable. Day 2. I was crossing Indiana when the system alerted me. Cargo shift detected. Weight redistribution. Forward 2.3 feet. I pulled over immediately. A cargo shift could be dangerous. Pallets coming loose, weight becoming unbalanced, potentially causing the trailer to fishtail or jackknife. I opened the trailer. Everything looked fine. The pallets were exactly where they'd been loaded. The straps were tight. Nothing had moved. But the monitoring system insisted the weight had shifted forward 2.3 feet. I checked the sensors. They were functioning correctly. According to the data, 3,000 pounds had moved from the rear third of the trailer to the front third. But visually, nothing had changed. I recalibrated the system, reset the sensors, closed the trailer, and continued driving. An hour later, cargo shift detected. Weight redistribution forward 4.7 feet. I pulled over again, checked the trailer. Everything still in place. But the monitoring system was adamant. More weight had shifted forward. 6,000 pounds now concentrated in the front third of the trailer. I called technical support for the monitoring system, spent 30 minutes on the phone. They remotely accessed the sensors, ran diagnostics. Everything's functioning correctly, the technician said. The sensors are detecting a real weight shift. But you're saying the cargo hasn't moved physically? Nothing's moved, I can see it. Pallets are exactly where they were loaded. That's unusual. The sensors don't lie. If they detect a shift, there's a shift. Maybe the cargo is settling, compressing. It's electronics. Computers don't compress. I don't know what to tell you. Monitor it. If the shift gets dangerous, you'll need to unload and rebalance. Day 3, Iowa. The shifts were happening more frequently, every hour now. Each time the monitoring system showed more weight moving forward. But the pallets remained visually stationary. By evening, the system showed 90% of the weight in the front third of the trailer. The distribution was dangerously unbalanced. I should be feeling it. The truck should be front-heavy, difficult to steer. But it drove normally. I stopped at a truck stop outside Des Moines, opened the trailer with a flashlight, inspected every pallet carefully. That's when I saw it, the gaps. Between pallet 12 and pallet 13 there was a gap. Not a physical gap, the pallets were still touching, but a temporal gap. I could see it somehow. Pallet 12 existed in Tuesday. Pallet 13 existed in Friday. I blinked, thinking it was exhaustion. But the gap was still there. A visual distortion like looking through heat shimmer. Pallet 12 was solid, real, present. Pallet 13 was translucent, flickering, not fully here. I checked the dates on my phone. Today was Wednesday, February 12th. Pallet 12 existed in yesterday. Pallet 13 existed in 3 days from now. I looked at the other pallets. Each one had a temporal signature I could somehow perceive. Pallets 1-8 existed in Monday. Pallets 9-12 existed in Tuesday. Pallets 13-17 existed in Friday. Pallets 18-23 existed in Saturday. My cargo was scattered across 6 different days. The load was shifting forward through time, not through space. The monitoring system was detecting the temporal redistribution. The weight was moving into the future, concentrating in the days ahead of me. I closed the trailer, sat in my cab, tried to process this. How was this possible? How could cargo exist in different days simultaneously? And more importantly, what happened when all the days converged? I kept driving, Colorado. The temporal shifts accelerated. By the time I reached Denver, every pallet existed in a different hour. I could feel it now, a strange sensation like the trailer was pulling me forward in time, like tomorrow was tugging at me, trying to drag me into Friday prematurely. I checked the delivery date, February 15th, 10 a.m., 2 days from now. Friday. Most of my cargo already existed in Friday. I was hauling future cargo in present time. And as I approached the delivery date, the cargo was pulling forward, collapsing the temporal distance. Day 4, New Mexico. I woke up at a truck stop and checked my phone. The date showed February 13th, Thursday. But when I opened the trailer, I saw pallets that existed in Friday, Saturday, even Sunday. The cargo was ahead of me in time. I was still in Thursday, but my cargo had moved into the weekend. The monitoring system showed critical imbalance now. 95% of the weight existed in the future. Only 5% remained in the present, and I could feel it. I was being pulled. Forward, into tomorrow, into the delivery day. I drove toward Phoenix. The landscape was flickering. I'd see Thursday, normal traffic, normal weather. Then I'd see Friday, different traffic, different conditions. The days were overlapping, blurring together. By evening, I was seeing all 4 days simultaneously. Monday's route overlaid with Tuesdays, overlaid with Fridays, overlaid with Saturdays. All happening at once. I was driving through collapsed time. The truck was handling strangely now. Not physically, it drove smoothly, but temporally. I'd accelerate and I'd jump forward an hour. I'd brake and I'd slip back 30 minutes. Time was becoming fluid. I reached Phoenix on Thursday night, or was it Friday morning? I couldn't tell anymore. The days had merged. I navigated to the delivery address, a warehouse in an industrial district. I arrived at, according to my dashboard, clock 9:47 p.m. Thursday. But according to the warehouse clock, it was 10:03 a.m. Friday, the delivery window. I backed up to the loading dock. A crew came out to unload. "You're right on time," the supervisor said. "What day is it?" I asked. "Friday, February 15th, 10 a.m., right when you're scheduled." But I'd arrived Thursday night. I was sure of it. They opened the trailer, started unloading. As they removed each pallet, I watched it solidify into Friday. The temporal flickering stopped. Each pallet became fully present, fully real, existing in a single moment. By the time they finished unloading, all 23 pallets existed in Friday, 10 a.m., February 15th. The cargo had converged. All the scattered days had collapsed into the delivery moment. The supervisor handed me paperwork to sign. Successful delivery. Everything accounted for. You're our most reliable driver, Yolanda. Never miss a window. I signed. But my hand looked strange, translucent, flickering. I was experiencing temporal diffusion now. The same thing that had happened to the cargo was happening to me. I drove away from the warehouse, checked my phone. It showed February 15th, 10:18 a.m., Friday. But I remembered leaving Newark on Tuesday. I'd only driven 3 days. Or had I driven 4 days? Or had I experienced all 4 days in a single instant? I couldn't tell anymore. The days had compressed. I'd driven Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday simultaneously. All of them at once. All of them collapsed into a single delivery. That night, or was it Friday night or Saturday night, I parked at a truck stop outside Phoenix, tried to sleep, but I kept flickering between days. I'd be in Friday, then Thursday, then Sunday, then Tuesday, jumping randomly through the week. I called my dispatcher. Something happened during the delivery. I'm experiencing temporal shifts. What are you talking about? The cargo was scattered across multiple days. When it converged, I started experiencing the same thing. I can't tell what day it is. I'm jumping between them. Yolanda, are you feeling okay? You sound confused. I'm not confused. I'm temporally displaced. I need help. Get some rest. We'll talk when you're back in Newark. I hung up. He didn't understand, couldn't understand. I checked the calendar app on my phone. It showed February 15th. But as I watched, the date changed. February 16th, then February 13th, then February 20th. The days were cycling randomly. I was unstuck in time, experiencing the week non-sequentially. All because the cargo I'd hauled had been temporally distributed, and when it converged, it took me with it. Over the next several days, or what felt like days, I experienced fragments. I was in Phoenix, then Newark, then somewhere in Kansas. I was loading cargo, unloading cargo, driving, sleeping, all out of order, all jumbled. Sometimes I saw other truckers who looked at me strangely. I realized I was flickering to them too, appearing and disappearing, existing in multiple moments simultaneously. I tried to find a pattern, tried to figure out what day I was really in, but there was no base reality anymore. Every day was equally real. I existed in all of them at once. Finally, or maybe initially, I couldn't tell. I ended up back at the warehouse in Newark, the same warehouse where I'd picked up the temporal cargo. The loader recognized me. Back for another load? What date is it? I asked. February 11th, Tuesday. You're scheduled to pick up a load for Phoenix, 23 pallets, delivery Friday. February 11th, the day I'd started. Was I back at the beginning? Or was this a different February 11th, a loop? I've already done this delivery, I said. No record of it. This is your first Phoenix run this month. I looked at the trailer they were loading. 23 pallets. Electronics. Same cargo. And as they loaded each pallet, I could see it. The temporal distribution. Pallets scattering across days. Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. They were loading the cargo that would shift through time. The cargo that would pull me into temporal compression. Don't load that, I said. The cargo is temporally distributed. It'll cause a collapse when it converges. The loader looked at me like I was crazy. It's just computers, lady. They're not gonna hurt anyone. But I knew better. I'd experienced it. Or I was about to experience it. Or I was experiencing it right now. Time had become non-linear for me. Cause and effect were scrambled. I was living the route in the wrong order, experiencing the delivery before the pickup, feeling the temporal shift before the cargo was loaded. I backed away from the trailer. "I'm not taking this load. You have to. You're scheduled. It's your job." I quit. I walked away, left the truck, left the warehouse, left the cargo. But an hour later, or was it a day later, I was back in the truck, driving, the cargo loaded, heading toward Phoenix. Had I quit and then unquit? Or had I never quit at all? Was my memory of quitting something that would happen later? Or had already happened in a different timeline? I don't know anymore. I'm driving now, somewhere between Newark and Phoenix, or everywhere between Newark and Phoenix, all the points on the route existing simultaneously. The cargo is shifting. The monitoring system shows the weight moving forward through time, and I'm shifting too, fragmenting across days, experiencing the route non-sequentially. Eventually I'll arrive at the delivery, the cargo will converge, all the days will collapse into Friday, 10 a.m., and I'll experience the entire week in a single instant, every mile driven, every stop made, every moment lived, all at once, compressed into a singular point of temporal convergence. I'm almost there, or I've already been there, or I'm always there. Time doesn't work the same for me anymore. I'm the cargo now, shifting forward, converging, becoming a single moment spread across a week. If you haul time-sensitive cargo, check the delivery dates carefully. If your cargo needs to arrive at a specific moment, be careful. Because sometimes the cargo doesn't move through space, it moves through time, and when it does, you move with it. Forward, into compression, into the moment when all days become one, and you experience your entire route in a single instant. I'm arriving now, or I arrived yesterday, or I'll arrive tomorrow, it's all the same. Friday, 10 a.m., the delivery window, the convergence point where I become a single moment. Forever. Story 3, the toll booth. I've passed through the same toll booth 47 times in the last 6 hours, but I've never doubled back or taken an exit. The highway is straight, I'm traveling in one direction, but every 30 miles the same toll attendant collects $4.75 and tells me safe travels ahead. Each time I pay, I notice the cash in my wallet decreasing, but when I count the money later, I always have the same amount. The receipts in my glove box are multiplying, though. Hundreds of receipts, all from the same toll booth, all dated today, all time-stamped in sequential order, showing I've been paying tolls every few minutes for months. My name is Derek Hammond, 49 years old, 21 years driving trucks. I ran East Coast routes primarily, New Jersey to Florida, up and down I-95, the most heavily tolled highway in America, probably the world. I'd spent tens of thousands of dollars on tolls over 2 decades. It was just part of the job, part of the cost of doing business. February 18th, 2025, I was driving from Philadelphia to Richmond, Virginia. Standard run about 5 hours. I'd done it hundreds of times. I knew every toll plaza, every rest stop, every mile marker. I entered the New Jersey Turnpike at 8 a.m., hit the first toll booth at 8:17 a.m. The attendant, a middle-aged man with glasses, took my money, $4.75, gave me a receipt. "Safe travels ahead," he said. Standard interaction. I got them 100 times a week. I continued south, merged onto I-95 through Delaware into Maryland. The highway was clear, traffic light. I was making good time. At 8:47 a.m., I approached another toll booth. This one looked familiar. Same design as the New Jersey booth. Same attendant, middle-aged man with glasses. He took my money, $4.75. "Safe travels ahead," he said. Exact same words, same inflection. I looked at the receipt. It showed the same toll plaza as before, same location code, but I'd traveled 30 miles south. This was definitely a different toll booth, wasn't it? I checked my GPS. I was in Maryland, definitely not New Jersey anymore, but the toll booth looked identical. I kept driving. At 9:17 a.m., another toll booth. Same design, same attendant, same price, same words. Safe travels ahead. 3 identical toll booths in 60 minutes, all charging $4.75, all with the same attendant, all with the same scripted phrase. Coincidence? Maybe. Corporate toll agencies did standardize their facilities. Maybe the attendant was just a common look. Maybe safe travels ahead was company policy. But it felt wrong. I checked my wallet. I'd started with $300 in cash. After 3 tolls, I should have $285.75 remaining. I counted. $300. Exactly what I'd started with. That was impossible. I'd paid $14.25 in tolls. The money should be gone. I looked in my glove box where I threw receipts. There were dozens of them. I pulled them out, started reading. All from the same toll booth. All dated February 18th, 2025. All time-stamped sequentially. 8:17 a.m., 8:47 a.m., 9:17 a.m., 9:47 a.m., 10:17 a.m. But it was only 9:22 a.m. now. I had receipts from the future, from toll transactions I hadn't made yet. I kept driving, watching the clock. At exactly 9:47 a.m., a toll booth appeared. Same design, same attendant. He took my $4.75. Safe travels ahead. I compared him to my memory of the previous encounters. He was identical. Not similar, identical. Same glasses, same uniform, same facial features, same voice. "Have you been working all morning?" I asked. "Yes, sir, since 6 a.m. "How many toll booths do you work?" "Just this one, sir. Been at this plaza for 11 years. "What plaza is this?" "Mile marker 87, southbound I-95. I checked my GPS. I was at mile marker 87. But 30 minutes ago, I'd been at mile marker 57, and there'd been a toll booth there with this same attendant who claimed he only worked one plaza. "Do you have a twin?" I asked. "Someone who looks exactly like you?" He smiled. "No, sir. Only child. Will that be cash or card?" "I already paid." "No record of it, sir. $4.75, please." I paid. Again. Got another receipt. Drove away. By noon, I'd passed through the toll booth 14 times. Every 30 miles like clockwork. Same plaza, same attendant, same price. My wallet still had $300. The receipts in my glove box now numbered in the hundreds, spanning timestamps from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 12 hours of tolls paid every 30 minutes. I was in a toll loop. Somehow the highway was routing me through the same plaza repeatedly, even though I was traveling in a straight line southbound. I tried to avoid the tolls. When I saw the next booth approaching at 12:17 p.m., I looked for an exit. There wasn't one. The highway continued straight, no off-ramps, and the toll booth was unavoidable. I passed through, paid $4.75, safe travels ahead. At 12:47 p.m., I tried stopping before the toll booth, pulled onto the shoulder a mile ahead of it, waited. Maybe if I didn't pass through at the scheduled time, the loop would break. I waited 30 minutes. At 1:17 p.m., I got back on the highway, drove forward. The toll booth should have been behind me. I'd stopped before it. But as I drove, it appeared ahead. Same plaza, same attendant. He took my money. Safe travels ahead. I'd looped back to it, or it had looped to me. Either way, I couldn't avoid it. By evening, I'd paid the toll 47 times. The receipts filled my glove box, overflowing into the passenger seat. All identical, all from the same plaza, all time-stamped in perfect 30-minute intervals. And the attendant never aged, never tired, never varied his script. Just safe travels ahead every single time. I pulled over at a rest stop around 6 p.m., checked my position. According to GPS, I'd traveled 420 miles. That was correct for 10 hours of driving. But I'd also passed through 47 toll booths, each one supposedly 30 miles apart. 47 times 30 equals 1,410 miles. But I'd only traveled 420 miles. The math didn't work. I was traveling through space normally, but passing through the toll booth at an accelerated rate, as if the toll booth existed in multiple points along my route simultaneously, or as if my route was folding back on itself, intersecting the same point repeatedly. I called my dispatcher. "I'm experiencing something unusual. I keep passing through the same toll booth." "What do you mean, the same toll booth?" "Identical plaza, same attendant, 47 times today." "That's impossible. You're on I-95. There are multiple toll plazas. They probably look similar." "They're not similar. They're identical. Same location code on the receipts. Same everything." "Derek, are you feeling okay? Do you need to pull over and rest?" "I'm fine. There's something wrong with this highway. Get some sleep. Call me in the morning." He hung up. Didn't believe me. I tried to sleep in my cab. But at 6:17 p.m. my alarm went off. Not an alarm I'd set, just the clock showing 6:17, and I felt a pull, a compulsion. I started the truck, drove back onto the highway. At exactly 6:17 p.m. the toll booth appeared. I passed through, paid $4.75, heard safe travels ahead. The toll booth was controlling me, or I was bound to it. Every 30 minutes I had to pass through, had to pay, had to hear those words. I checked my wallet again. Still $300. The money wasn't depleting. The toll booth wasn't taking my actual money. It was taking something else. Some kind of temporal currency. My time, my will, my choice. Every toll I paid bound me more tightly to the loop. By midnight, I'd passed through 72 times. The receipts completely filled my cab. Piled on the seats, the dashboard, the floor. Thousands of receipts, all identical except for timestamps. The attendant never changed, never aged, never even blinked. Just took the money, said the words, handed me the receipt. At 3 a.m., exhausted and desperate, I tried to run the toll booth. I accelerated, aimed to blow past without paying. But my foot wouldn't press the accelerator. My body refused. At the last moment, I braked, pulled up to the window, paid the $4.75. Safe travels ahead. I was trapped, physically trapped in the loop. My body wouldn't let me avoid it. By dawn of the second day, I'd passed through 108 times. The receipts were compressing now, crushed by their own volume into a solid mass of paper in my cab. I could barely move, and I noticed something else. The attendant was speaking slightly faster. Safe travels ahead was delivered in 1.2 seconds instead of 1.5. He was speeding up, or time was compressing. The intervals between toll booths were shrinking too. No longer 30 minutes, now 25 minutes, then 20, then 15. The toll booth was appearing more frequently, pulling me through faster, accelerating the loop. By noon on the second day, I was passing through every 5 minutes. The receipts were reproducing faster than I could collect them, spilling out of the windows, creating a paper trail behind my truck on the highway. And the attendant was a blur now. Hands moving too fast to see, voice compressed into a high-pitched chirp. Safe travels ahead. At 3 p.m. on the second day, the intervals reached 1 minute. I was passing through the toll booth 60 times per hour. The truck was barely moving between tolls. Just enough momentum to coast 30 feet before the next plaza appeared. My cab was completely filled with receipts. I was buried in paper, unable to move, unable to breathe, just paying tolls on infinite loop. At some point, I lost track of time. The interval reached 0. I was passing through the toll booth continuously. No gap between transactions, just an endless moment of paying $4.75, hearing safe travels ahead, receiving a receipt. I existed in the toll booth, perpetually mid-transaction, forever handing over money, forever traveling ahead, forever safe. The loop had compressed into a single point. I was no longer driving toward the toll booth. I was the toll booth. My existence had merged with it. The attendant looked at me, Finally looked at me, really looked, and I saw his eyes. They were empty. He'd been trapped too long ago. He was a previous driver who'd gotten caught in the loop, compressed into a single moment, transformed into the mechanism that perpetuated the trap. "Safe travels ahead," he said. But this time I understood. It wasn't a wish. It was a warning, a description. Safe travels ahead, because there was nothing ahead but safety, no danger, no change, no time. Just the loop, safe and eternal. I'm still here, in the toll booth, paying $4.75, hearing the words, receiving the receipt. If you drive I-95, if you pass through a toll plaza, and the attendant seems too perfect, too scripted, too unchanging. Pay quickly. Don't make conversation, don't ask questions, because some toll booths aren't collecting money. They're collecting drivers, compressing them into the loop, making them part of the transaction, forever mid-payment, forever traveling ahead, forever safe. I'm the attendant now, or I'm the driver, or I'm the receipt. I can't tell anymore. I'm just part of the toll booth. $4.75, safe travels ahead. Story 4. The Shadow Convoy. There's a convoy of trucks following me that only appear in my mirrors, never when I look directly at them. They've been maintaining perfect formation for 800 miles. Same distance, same spacing, same speed. When I stop, they stop. When I accelerate, they accelerate. But here's what terrifies me. Each truck is carrying a banner across its windshield. The banners show dates. The truck directly behind me shows yesterday's date. The one behind that shows last Tuesday. The one behind that shows last month. I'm being followed by my own past, and the convoy is getting longer. This morning I counted 37 trucks. Tonight there are 52. Tomorrow there might be hundreds, and eventually the convoy will stretch back to the day I first became a trucker. And when it does, all my past roots will collapse into this present moment, and I'll experience 21 years of driving simultaneously. My name is Isaiah Grant, 43 years old, 21 years driving trucks. February 22nd, 2025, I was running I-10 from Los Angeles to Houston. Standard cross-country haul, automotive parts, 3-day delivery window. Nothing unusual about the job. Nothing unusual about the route. The first day was completely normal. California, Arizona into New Mexico. I drove 8 hours, stopped for the night at a truck stop outside Las Cruces. Standard routine. The next morning, February 23rd, I got back on the road around 6 a.m. As dawn light filled my cab, I checked my mirrors. Standard safety procedure before merging onto the highway. There was a truck behind me, about 200 yards back. Same model as mine. Same company colors. Not unusual. Lots of trucks on I-10. Probably another driver from my company. But there was something across the windshield. A banner. White text on black background. I squinted, trying to read it. A date, February 22nd, 2025, yesterday's date. I looked over my shoulder, turning to see the truck directly. Nothing there. Empty highway behind me. I looked back at my mirror. The truck was there, clear as day. Banner reading February 22nd, 2025. I pulled over, got out, looked behind me, no truck. Empty road stretching into the distance. Got back in my cab, checked the mirror. The truck was there, 200 yards back, maintaining distance. I started driving. The truck followed, same speed, same distance, never getting closer, never falling behind. And I noticed something else. Behind that truck was another truck, this one with a banner reading February 21st, 2025, 2 days ago. I drove for an hour. The convoy behind me grew. Now there were 5 trucks. February 22nd, yesterday. February 21st, 2 days ago. February 20th, 3 days ago. February 19th, 4 days ago. February 15th, a week ago. All following me, all visible only in mirrors, all maintaining perfect formation. I pulled over again, got out with binoculars, scanned the highway behind me, nothing. Completely empty, got back in, checked mirrors, 5 trucks, all there. By noon, the convoy had grown to 12 trucks. The dates stretched back to February 1st, an entire month of past dates following me in mirror space. I called my dispatcher. I'm seeing something unusual in my mirrors, trucks following me with dates on them. What kind of dates? Past dates, like yesterday, last week, early February. All on banners across their windshields. Derek, are you feeling okay? I'm fine, but there are 12 trucks following me and they only exist in my mirrors. Only in your mirrors? When I look directly, they're not there. Only in the mirrors. Long silence. Then, get some rest, pull over, sleep. You might be experiencing fatigue hallucinations. I'm not hallucinating. I can see them right now. Mirrors can play tricks. Reflections distort things. It's probably just other trucks on the highway and you're seeing them weird due to angle and distance. I hung up. He didn't understand. By evening approaching El Paso, the convoy had grown to 37 trucks. The dates stretched back to January, my entire recent driving history following me in mirror space. And I started to understand. Each truck represented a day I'd driven, a route I'd taken, a past version of this journey. Yesterday's truck was yesterday me, driving the same route 24 hours behind. Last week's truck was last week me, on a different job but following the same cosmic path. Last month's truck was last month me, all the way back in January. I was being followed by my own history, my past routes converging on my present location, trailing behind me in chronological order, visible only in reflections. I stopped at a truck stop in El Paso, parked, went inside for food. When I came back out, I checked my mirrors before getting in the truck. The convoy had grown, 52 trucks now. Dates stretching back to December 2024. And I noticed details I hadn't seen before. Each truck wasn't empty. Each had a driver. And the drivers, they were me. Isaiah Grant at different ages, different times, different moments. Yesterday me looked exactly like current me. Last week me had slightly shorter hair. Last month me had a beard I'd since shaved. I was being followed by all my past selves, every version of me that had driven a truck arranged in chronological order, trailing behind in mirror space. Day 3, Texas. The convoy was enormous now. I'd stopped counting, but it stretched as far as my mirrors could see, hundreds of trucks. Dates going back to 2024, 2023, 2022, years of driving, years of routes, all following me. And they were getting closer. The distance was shrinking. Yesterday's truck had been 200 yards back, now it was 100 yards. Last week's truck had been 300 yards back. Now it was 150. The past was catching up. I pulled into a rest area, tried to sleep, couldn't. I kept checking my mirrors. The convoy was there, parked behind me in perfect formation, hundreds of trucks, hundreds of me's, all watching from their mirrors. Because I realized I was in their mirrors too. To yesterday me, I was tomorrow. To last week me, I was next week. To last year me, I was the future. We were all watching each other across time, past and future and present, all connected through mirrors, all following, all leading, all simultaneous. Day 4. Approaching Houston. The convoy had grown exponentially. Thousands of trucks now. Dates going back to 2020, 2019, 2015, 2010. A decade of driving following me, and the spacing had collapsed. The trucks were bumper to bumper now. A solid wall of vehicles stretching miles behind me, all visible only in mirrors. I could see the individual me's now. Younger versions, 30-year-old me, 25-year-old me, 22-year-old me. All the years of Isaiah Grant who had driven trucks. All following the current me, all converging on this moment. The lead truck, yesterday's truck, was right behind me now, 10 feet back. I could see yesterday me's face clearly. He looked terrified, because he was seeing what I was seeing, the convoy behind him, his past catching up. and I realized the truth. Tomorrow I would be yesterday's truck. Some future version of me would be in the lead, and I would be the first truck in his convoy. We were all taking turns being the present, with our pasts trailing behind. But something was different now. The convoy wasn't just following anymore, it was compressing. All the trucks pushing forward, all the years of driving collapsing into a single line. Soon there would be no space between trucks. No separation between past and present. All my routes would exist simultaneously. All my years of driving would happen at once. I would experience 21 years of trucking in a single moment. Temporal compression. All my history condensed into an eternal now. I reached Houston, made the delivery, unloaded the cargo, completed the job. But in my mirrors, the convoy was right behind me. Thousands of trucks, all touching bumpers, all pushing forward, all forcing their histories into my present. And then it happened. Yesterday's truck merged with mine, not physically, but temporally. I felt it. I experienced yesterday and today simultaneously. Two routes at once. Two sets of memories overlapping. Then last week's truck merged. Now I was experiencing three timelines. Current route, yesterday's route, last week's route, all happening together. The merging accelerated. Last month, last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, all merging, all compressing into a single experience. I was driving all my routes simultaneously. Los Angeles to Houston, Seattle to Miami, Denver to Boston, Chicago to Phoenix. Every route I'd ever driven happening at once. I existed in 21 years of driving, all compressed into this single moment. All the cities, all the highways, all the deliveries, all the stops, all happening now. I could see my entire career laid out spatially, every route I'd driven forming a massive web. Every truck stop I'd visited existing simultaneously. Every cargo I'd hauled present all at once. I was experiencing my entire trucking career as a single eternal journey. And I understood. This was the truth of driving. You're not moving forward, you're accumulating history. Every route becomes part of you, every mile adds to the total. And eventually the total becomes so large that it collapses. All the routes merge. All the years condense. You become your entire career, all at once, forever driving every route simultaneously, forever in motion across all highways, forever delivering every cargo. I'm still driving, or I've always been driving, or I'll always be driving. The temporal distinctions don't matter anymore. I'm on I-10 heading to Houston, and I-40 heading to Nashville, and I-95 heading to Boston, and every other route I've ever driven, all at once, all the time, forever. The convoy has merged completely, all my past selves integrated into my present. I am the accumulation of 21 years of trucking, every version of Isaiah Grant driving simultaneously. And the convoy keeps growing, because every day I drive adds another truck to the formation, another past self to merge. The history keeps expanding even as it compresses. If you're a trucker, check your mirrors carefully. If you see trucks following you with dates on their windshields, don't wait for them to catch up. They will. Eventually, your past catches up. And when it does, you'll experience every route you've ever driven simultaneously. Your entire career compressed into a single eternal moment, forever driving, forever in the convoy, forever merged with your history. I see you in my mirrors now. All of you, every trucker who's ever driven, we're all in the convoy, all following each other, all merging, all becoming one eternal route. Welcome. Drive safe, forever. Story 5. The Way Station Paradox. The way station scales are showing impossible readings. My truck weighs differently each time I cross them, gaining and losing thousands of pounds without adding or removing cargo. First pass, 52,000 pounds. Second pass, 73,000 pounds. Third pass, 19,000 pounds. The operator finally explained that the scales aren't measuring my truck's weight in the present. They're measuring its weight across all possible timelines. In one timeline, I'm overloaded. In another, I'm empty. In another, I don't exist. And every time I cross the scales, I slightly shift into a different timeline, becoming heavier or lighter depending on which version of me I'm becoming. He showed me the records. I've crossed these scales 3,000 times in the past week. Different weights every time. Different versions of me. All converging here. My name is Patricia Volkov, 44 years old, 16 years driving trucks. February 27, 2025, I was hauling construction materials from Sacramento to Boise. Standard freight, well within legal weight limits. My manifest showed 45,000 pounds of cargo. My truck weighed 18,000 pounds empty. Total 63,000 pounds. Under the 80,000 pound federal limit. Everything legal, everything proper. I hit the first weigh station at the California-Nevada border around 10 a.m. Required stop. When the signs are lit, commercial vehicles must enter for weighing and inspection. Standard procedure. I'd done it thousands of times. I pulled onto the scales, waited for the light. The display showed 52,217 pounds. That was wrong. I should be 63,000 pounds. I'd lost over 10,000 pounds somehow. The operator came on the intercom. Driver, pull to inspection bay 3. I pulled over. An inspector approached. Ma'am, your weight's inconsistent with your manifest. Manifest shows 63,000. Scale shows 52,000. You need to explain the discrepancy. I don't understand. I haven't unloaded anything. The cargo should be the same weight as when I started. Let me check the cargo. He inspected the trailer, counted pallets, checked straps. Everything was as loaded, nothing missing. Cargo's all here, he confirmed, but scale shows you're light. Run across again. I drove back through the scales. The display showed 73,584 pounds. I'd gained 21,000 pounds in 5 minutes, without adding cargo. The inspector's radio crackled. I heard confused voices. He approached my truck again. Ma'am, that's unusual. Cross one more time. Third pass. Display showed 19,053 pounds. I'd lost 54,000 pounds. My truck now weighed less than it did empty. What the hell is going on? I asked. The inspector pulled out a tablet, scrolled through records. You've been here before, multiple times, same truck, different weights. No, this is my first time today. He showed me the tablet. Logs showing my truck, my license plate, my name, hundreds of entries, all dated February 27th, 2025, all time-stamped throughout the day, all showing different weights. 8:47 a.m., 82,443 pounds, 9:12 a.m., 34,229 pounds, 9:53 a.m., 107,181 pounds, 10:04 a.m., 52,217 pounds, my first crossing. 10:11 a.m., 73,584 pounds, my second crossing. 10:14 a.m., 19,053 pounds, my third crossing, and more entries, time-stamped in the future. 11:22 a.m., 95,002 pounds, 12:06 p.m., 41,337 pounds, 2:48 p.m., 68,74 pounds. How is this possible? I whispered. I haven't been here all those times. The scales are measuring something unusual, the inspector said. Not your physical weight, something else. We've been getting anomalous readings all week, trucks weighing different amounts on each pass. Some drivers don't notice, but you've crossed 3,000 times according to our logs. 3,000 times? In one day? In 1 week? 3,000 crossings. Same truck. Different weights. Different versions. Versions of what? He hesitated. We think the scales are measuring probabilistic weight. Not the weight you currently have, but the weight you might have across all possible timelines. In some timelines, you're overloaded. In others, you're empty. In others, you don't exist. Every time you cross the scales, you're sampled from a different timeline. You become that version briefly. That's insane. I know. But look at the data. 3,000 crossings. 3,000 different weights. You're flickering between timelines every time you hit these scales. How do I stop it? We don't know. Some drivers just drive through, ignore it. The weight changes don't affect the physical truck. You're not actually gaining or losing cargo, it's just what the scales read. Some quantum measurement thing. The act of weighing collapses your truck into a specific timeline temporarily. What happens if I keep crossing? You keep flickering. Eventually. He trailed off. Eventually what? Eventually you might flicker into a timeline where you don't arrive in Boise, or where you never left Sacramento, or where you don't exist at all. The more times you cross, the more unstable your timeline becomes. I sat there processing this. So what do I do? Option 1, keep driving. Hope you stabilize. Most drivers do. Option 2, don't cross way stations anymore. Avoid timeline sampling. Stay in your current timeline by not measuring yourself. That's illegal. I have to cross when required. Then you accept the risk. Every way station is a probability collapse. Every crossing shifts you slightly. Eventually, you might shift completely. I left the way station deeply unsettled, but I kept driving. What choice did I have? 50 miles later, another way station I had to cross. Signs were lit. I pulled onto the scales. Display, 88th, 392 pounds. I'd gained 15,000 pounds again. The operator waved me through, overweight limit, but he seemed aware of the anomaly. Didn't cite me. Another 50 miles, another station, this time 28,774 pounds. I'd become lighter version me again. By the time I reached Boise, I'd crossed 9 way stations. 9 different weights, 9 different timeline versions. And I started noticing other changes, small things. My coffee cup was on the left side of the cup holder. I always put it on the right. The radio was tuned to a station I didn't recognize. The air freshener hanging from my mirror was pine-scented. I used vanilla, little details wrong, because I was becoming different versions of myself with each crossing. I delivered the cargo in Boise, or a version of me did. The receiving crew signed for it. But they called me Patricia when my name is Trisha. I've never gone by Patricia, but apparently in this timeline I do. I started the return trip to Sacramento. More way stations, more timeline shifts. By the 3rd station I noticed the routes were different. I-80 looked wrong. The exit numbers didn't match my memory, the landscape was subtly off. By the 5th station my truck was a different color. It had been white, now it was blue. Nobody else seemed to notice. By the 7th station I had a passenger, a man I didn't know. He said his name was Robert, said we'd been driving together for 3 years. I had no memory of him, but he had detailed memories of me, of our routes together, of conversations we'd had. In his timeline, we were partners. In mine, I'd always driven solo, but now I was in his timeline, and he was real, solid, present. You keep disappearing, Robert said. Every few hours, one moment you're here, next moment you're gone, then you reappear, confused like you don't know me. I don't know you. You do in some timelines. In others you don't. We're unstable, flickering between realities. The way stations do this, every crossing shifts us. How do we stop it? We don't. We just keep driving. Eventually we stabilize, or we don't. And if we don't, we keep flickering, forever, experiencing fragments of different timelines, never fully in one reality. We crossed another way station. The scales showed 103,487 pounds, massively overweight, illegal. The operator flagged us immediately, but when we pulled to inspection, Robert was gone. The passenger seat empty. I was alone again. The inspector checked the cargo. You're empty, he said. No cargo at all, but scale showed 103,000 pounds. I had cargo, I said. I delivered it in Boise. No record of delivery. Your manifest shows you're still loaded, but trailer's empty. I checked the trailer myself. Empty. The pallets I'd hauled to Boise were gone. But I remembered delivering them. Remembered the receiving crew. Remembered Robert helping me unload. But in this timeline, none of that had happened. I was still en route to Boise somehow. Empty trailer. No delivery made. The timeline shifts were becoming more severe. I kept driving, kept crossing way stations. Each one shifted me further. By the 10th crossing, I was in a timeline where I'd never become a trucker. I was driving a personal vehicle, a sedan, not a truck. But I still had memories of trucking. Still felt like I should be hauling cargo. By the 15th crossing, I was in a timeline where trucks didn't exist. I was driving a horse-drawn wagon, somehow crossing way stations that measured wagons. The scales showing weights in strange units I didn't recognize. By the 20th crossing, I was in a timeline where I didn't exist. But I was still conscious, still crossing scales. A ghost driver in a ghost truck measured at 0 pounds by scales that somehow still detected me. I've lost count of the crossings now. I've been through hundreds of timelines, thousands maybe. Every version of Patricia Volkov that could exist I've become. In some timelines I'm successful, wealthy, happy. In others I'm homeless, broken, lost. In others I never learned to drive. In others I died years ago but keep driving anyway. Each crossing shifts me. Each way station samples a new probability. I flicker between realities with every measurement. And I can't stop, because to drive, you must cross way stations. And every crossing is a probability collapse, a timeline shift, a new version of yourself. I've seen the logs at way stations now, thousands of drivers like me, all flickering, all shifting between timelines with every crossing. We're not driving through space anymore, we're driving through probability. Every way station is a quantum measurement. Every crossing collapses us into a different reality. And eventually we flicker so many times that we exist in all timelines simultaneously. We become superpositions of ourselves, all possible truck drivers, all at once, forever measured, forever shifted, forever crossing scales that show impossible weights. Because weight isn't mass anymore, it's probability. And we're all infinitely heavy and infinitely light. Depending on which timeline you measure, I'm crossing now. Another way station, another shift, another version of me. Which one will I be this time? I don't know. But the scales will tell me, they always do. Story 6, the last truck stop. I stopped at a truck stop in Utah that had a sign reading last stop for 500 miles, but when I tried to leave 30 minutes later, all the exits led back to the parking lot. I've been here for 4 days now. Other truckers are here too. Some say they've been here for weeks, months, even years. The convenience store is always stocked. The restaurant always has food. The showers always work. But nobody can leave. Every route out curves back. We're trapped in the last truck stop, and we're starting to realize we're not in Utah anymore. We're in the place truckers go when they've driven so far for so long that they've gone past the edge of the map. My name is Vincent Rhodes, 47 years old, 19 years driving trucks. March 3rd, 2025, I was running I-80 through Utah, hauling furniture from Salt Lake City to Reno. Standard cross-country route, nothing special. It was late afternoon when I saw the sign, Last Stop Truck Plaza. Last service is 500 miles. Not unusual, Utah has long stretches with nothing. I needed fuel and food anyway. I took the exit. The truck stop was large, maybe 30 truck parking spaces, full-service fuel, restaurant, convenience store, showers, the works. Professional operation. I pulled in around 5 p.m. Fueled up, went inside, got dinner at the restaurant. Decent food, better than most truck stops. Took a shower, bought some supplies, standard routine. At 6:30 p.m., I headed back to my truck. Time to continue to Reno. I started the engine, pulled out of the parking space, headed toward the exit. The exit ramp curved right, leading back to I-80. Standard design. I followed it. The curve kept curving, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and suddenly I was driving back into the truck stop parking lot. From a different entrance, but definitely back inside. I stopped. That didn't make sense. I'd followed the exit. It should have led to the highway. I tried again. Pulled out, headed to a different exit. Same result. The exit curved, looped, brought me back to the parking lot. I tried all 4 exits. Every single one led back inside. Impossible geometry. The truck stop was a closed system. I parked again, went inside to find the manager. Found an older man behind the convenience store counter. "I can't leave," I said. "All the exits loop back." He nodded. Didn't seem surprised. "Yeah, that happens." "That happens? What do you mean?" "The exits don't work. Haven't worked for a while, you're stuck here." "That's impossible. Exits don't just stop working." "This one does. You're in the last stop now, and when you're in the last stop, you stay." "For how long?" He shrugged. "Depends. Some people leave after a day, some after a week, some never leave." "Never leave?" He gestured to the parking lot. "See those trucks? Half of them have been here for months, some for years. Drivers who came in couldn't get out, gave up trying." I looked outside. Saw trucks parked in various states, some clean and maintained, others dusty and weathered, some barely recognizable as trucks anymore, more like rusted sculptures. "There has to be a way out," I said. "If you find one, let me know. I've been trying to leave for 11 years." 11 years? You've worked here for 11 years? "I've been stuck here for 11 years, came in as a driver, couldn't leave, eventually started working here to pass time. What else was I gonna do?" "This is insane. This is the last stop. It's where you end up when you've driven too far, when you've gone beyond the edge of the map, when there's nowhere left to go except here." I left the building, determined to find a way out, walked the perimeter of the truck stop. It was surrounded by desert, but the desert looked wrong. Too uniform, too empty. No hills, no plants, no features, just flat beige extending to a horizon that was too close, like a painted backdrop. I tried walking out into the desert. After 50 feet, I found myself walking back toward the truck stop from a different direction. The geometry was impossible. Mobius topology. Every direction led back to the center. I met other truckers. They told similar stories. Pulled in for fuel, couldn't leave. Some had been here for weeks, some for months. One man claimed he'd been here for 7 years. "Do people leave?" I asked him. "Sometimes. They just disappear. One day they're here, next day they're gone. Nobody sees them leave, they just stop existing here." "Where do they go?" "Maybe back to the real world. Maybe somewhere else, nobody knows." "Have you tried leaving?" "Every day for the first year, tried everything, walking, driving, digging under the fence, climbing over. Nothing works. This place doesn't follow normal rules." Day 2. I tried different strategies, drove at the exits at high speed, trying to break through whatever barrier was looping me back. Just ended up back in the parking lot, traveling in the same direction I'd started. Tried backing out of the exits. Same result. Tried exiting at different times, midnight, dawn, noon, no difference. The truck stop itself was perfectly functional. Food always available. Fuel tanks always full. Showers always had hot water. The convenience store was always stocked. It was like the place sustained itself, providing everything we needed to stay, but nothing that would help us leave. Day 3. I started talking to more trapped drivers, learned their stories. A woman named Claire had been here for 8 months. A man named Jerome had been here for 2 years. An older driver named Sam claimed he'd been here for 15 years, though he looked like he'd aged 30. Time's different here, Sam said. Not slower or faster, just different. You age normally, but time outside, I don't think it's passing the same way. What do you mean? I've been here 15 years, but when I check my phone, when it gets signal, which is rare, it still shows the same date I arrived. Like no time has passed outside. But I've aged 15 years. That doesn't make sense. Nothing here makes sense. This is the last stop. The place beyond the map. The final destination for truckers who drive too long. You end up here eventually if you stay on the road long enough. Is this hell? It's limbo, not punishment, just pause. Forever pause. You're not moving forward, not moving back, just here. Day 4. I noticed something. New trucks kept arriving. Drivers pulling in, fueling up, going inside. But they could leave. I watched them drive out, take the exits, disappear onto the highway. Why could they leave when we couldn't? I asked the manager. Those new drivers, they leave. Why can't we? They haven't reached their last stop yet. They're still going somewhere, still have destinations. You're here because you've run out of places to go. This is your terminal, your end point. I have a destination. Reno. I'm delivering furniture. Are you? Or are you just driving because that's what you do? No real destination, no real purpose, just motion, just miles. Eventually, all truckers reach the last stop. When driving becomes meaningless, when the cargo doesn't matter, when you're just a body in motion with nowhere to go, that's when you end up here. His words hit hard, because he was right. I'd been driving for 19 years. I couldn't remember the last time a delivery actually mattered to me. Couldn't remember the last time I'd cared about the cargo, the destination, the purpose. I just drove miles and miles, because that's what I did. Because that's who I was. A trucker with no real destination, just movement for movement's sake. And maybe that's why I was here, why we were all here. We'd driven so far for so long that we'd driven past purpose, past meaning. Into the last stop, the place where drivers go when driving is all they know, but they've forgotten why they started. I stopped trying to leave. What was the point? If I couldn't remember why I was driving to Reno, why did it matter if I got there? Days became weeks. Weeks became... I lost track. I worked in the restaurant sometimes, helped with maintenance, talked to other trapped drivers. We formed a community, a society of truckers who'd driven to the end and found themselves here. New drivers still arrived. Most left. Some stayed. The population fluctuated. But there was a core group. Dozens of us who'd been here long enough to accept it. This was home now, the last stop. I'm writing this from the last stop. I don't know how long I've been here. My phone says it's still March 3rd, 2025. But I've aged years, my beard is long, my hands are weathered. If you're a trucker reading this, pay attention to why you're driving. Really driving. Not just the destination on your manifest, but the deeper reason, the purpose. Because if you lose that purpose, if you drive just to drive, if motion becomes meaningless, you'll end up at the last stop, the truck plaza at the edge of the map, where exits loop back, where drivers become residents, where the journey ends without ending. I see new drivers arrive every day. Some figure it out quickly. They remember why they're driving. They rediscover purpose. And they leave. Others don't. They join us. Another trapped trucker in the last stop. Maybe you'll be next. Maybe you're already on your way here. Maybe you've been here before and don't remember. The last stop is patient. It waits for all of us. Eventually, when we've driven far enough, when we've forgotten why we started, when there's nowhere left to go, we arrive and we stay. Last service is 500 miles, but the 500 miles never end. They just loop back, forever. Welcome to the last stop. Story 7. The Mirrored Highway. For the last 300 miles, every vehicle I pass on my right reappears on my left seconds later, as if the highway is a Mobius strip with both lanes leading to the same destination. I've passed the same RV 7 times. The family inside waves at me identically each time. Same gesture, same smiling faces, same moment frozen in repetition. But here's what finally made me pull over. I saw my own truck coming from the opposite direction. When we passed each other, I looked into my own cab and saw myself looking back. And the other me's lips moved, forming words I couldn't hear but could read. Stop driving. You've already arrived. You arrived 3 days ago. You're just repeating the arrival over and over, passing the same mile markers in an infinite loop. My name is Monica Young, 39 years old, 11 years driving trucks. March 8, 2025, I was running I-90 through Montana, Billings to Spokane, standard western route. Machinery parts, nothing unusual. 8-hour drive in good conditions. I'd done this route dozens of times. The first hour was completely normal. Clear skies, light traffic. I maintained a steady 70 miles per hour, passing slower vehicles occasionally. Standard highway driving. Then I noticed something odd. A blue RV with California plates. I passed it around mile marker 127. Family of 4 visible through the windows, parents in front, kids in back. They waved as I passed. Friendly gesture. I waved back. 10 minutes later, I passed the same RV again. Same California plates, same family, same wave. I checked my mirrors. I hadn't looped back. I'd been driving straight. How could I pass the same vehicle twice? 20 minutes later, I passed it again. Third time. Same RV, same wave, exact same gesture. Mother's right hand raised, fingers spread, big smile, not similar, identical, like a video replay. I pulled alongside the RV, looked over. The family was frozen mid-wave, not moving, just suspended in that waving pose. The RV was still traveling 70 miles per hour, maintaining lane position, but the occupants weren't moving. Then they animated again, completed the wave, smiled, returned to normal position. I accelerated past them, continued driving. 5 miles later, the RV appeared ahead of me. I hadn't exited, hadn't turned around. I'd been driving straight west the entire time, but the RV was in front of me again. I passed it. 4th time, same wave. This kept happening. Every few miles, the RV would reappear ahead and I'd pass it again. Same family, same wave, same frozen moment repeating. By noon, I'd passed the RV 7 times and I started noticing other repetitions. A silver sedan I'd passed kept reappearing. A motorcycle I'd overtaken kept showing up ahead of me. A semi-truck with Western freight on the side. I'd passed it 3 times. The highway was looping, or I was looping. Vehicles I passed on the right were somehow reappearing on the left, cycling back to the front, creating an endless rotation of the same traffic. I pulled over at a rest area, checked my GPS. It showed I'd traveled 183 miles from Billings, halfway to Spokane. Progress seemed normal, but I'd passed the same vehicles multiple times. That wasn't normal. I got back on the highway, continued west. The pattern continued. Same RV, same sedan, same motorcycle, same semi-truck, all cycling endlessly. And then I saw it, coming from the opposite direction in the eastbound lanes. A truck identical to mine. Same model Freightliner, same company colors, same trailer. As we approached each other, I looked into the cab. The driver was me. Monica Yang, identical, wearing the same clothes, same expression. She was looking at me too. We locked eyes, and other me's lips moved. I couldn't hear her through the closed windows, but I read her lips clearly. Stop driving. You've already arrived. We passed each other. I watched in my mirror as my doppelganger continued east. Then she disappeared around a curve. I pulled over again, heart pounding. What the hell had I just seen? I checked my phone, called my dispatcher. No signal. Out in rural Montana, signal was spotty. I'd try again later. I got back on the highway, tried to focus, just drive, complete the delivery, figure this out later. But other me's words echoed, "You've already arrived." I checked my GPS. Destination Spokane, current location, still 200 miles away. I hadn't arrived, I was still en route. Unless... I thought about it. What if I had arrived? What if I'd reached Spokane days ago, made the delivery, and then somehow looped back? What if I was redriving the same route, passing the same mile markers, experiencing the same journey over and over? Mile marker 227 passed, then 228, then 227 again. I was looping. The mile markers were going backward, or cycling. I was covering ground but not making progress, driving forward while somehow returning to previous points. By evening, I'd passed the blue RV 23 times. Each time the same wave, the exact same gesture. The family wasn't real, they were echoes, recordings, moments frozen in repetition, and I started seeing more duplicates. Not just vehicles. Everything was repeating. The same billboard advertising a casino in Missoula, the same cloud formation in the sky, the same bird flying overhead. The entire landscape was looping, a 3-mile stretch of highway repeating endlessly. I'd drive through it, reach the end, and somehow be back at the beginning. Over and over, I tried exiting, took an off-ramp to a small town, drove into the town, but the streets curved impossibly, leading me back to the highway entrance. Back onto I-90, back into the loop. At sunset, I saw my truck again, coming from the opposite direction. Other me looked more desperate this time, pounding on her window, pointing at me, lips moving frantically. "We're stuck. Turn around. Break the loop." But I couldn't turn around. The highway wouldn't allow it. Every exit led back to I-90. Every route curved back to the same 3-mile stretch. I kept driving. Night fell. The loop continued. Same RV, same sedan, same motorcycle, same mile markers, same everything. And I started seeing more versions of myself. Not just one other truck, multiple trucks, dozens, all identical. All driven by versions of me, all trapped in the same loop. Some versions looked identical, me from earlier today. Others looked older, me from days or weeks in the loop. One version looked ancient, gray hair, weathered face, like she'd been driving this loop for decades. We were all trapped, all cycling through the same 3-mile stretch, all passing each other, all experiencing the same repeating journey. I pulled over, got out of the truck, stood on the shoulder, watched the traffic pass. Same vehicles cycling endlessly, same blue RV with the waving family, same sedan, same motorcycle. And dozens of my trucks, all driven by me, all passing in an endless procession. I walked into the desert beside the highway, tried to escape on foot, but after 100 yards I found myself walking back onto the highway from a different direction. The loop wasn't just the road, it was the space, the geometry. Everything curved back to the same point. I walked to mile marker 227, looked at it closely. The marker was worn, faded, but I could see scratches on it. Tallies. Someone had been counting, hundreds of tallies, thousands. How many times had I passed this marker? How long had I been in the loop? I checked my phone. Date March 8th, 2025. Time 7:42 p.m. But what did that mean? Was this the same March 8th I'd started? Or had I looped through March 8th multiple times? Was I experiencing the same day over and over, or had days passed and I didn't realize? I got back in my truck, started driving, past the blue RV, 24th time. Same wave, past my own truck coming from the opposite direction. Other me looked resigned now, no longer trying to communicate, just driving. Accepting the loop, maybe that was the answer. Accept it, stop fighting, just drive forever in the loop, passing the same points, experiencing the same moments. An eternal journey with no beginning or end. I drove through the night. Morning came. Or did it? Was this a new morning or the same morning repeating? I couldn't tell. The sun rose. The blue RV appeared ahead. I passed it. 25th time, same wave. Mile. Marker 227. Again, and again, and again. I've lost count now. I don't know how many times I've passed these markers. How many times I've seen the blue RV. How many versions of myself I've encountered. I'm still driving. Still in the loop. Still passing the same 3 miles of highway over and over. The GPS still shows 200 miles to Spokane, but I'll never reach Spokane. Because Spokane is outside the loop. And I'm inside the loop. And the loop is all there is now. Maybe I did arrive in Spokane. Days ago. Weeks ago. Years ago. And this is what happens after arrival. You loop back through the journey, repeat it endlessly. Experience the route forever. Maybe every trucker ends up here eventually. In a loop of their most traveled route. Passing the same landmarks. Seeing the same vehicles. Encountering versions of themselves trapped in the same eternal drive. Maybe the highway is Mobius. Maybe all highways are Mobius. You drive forward, but you're also driving backward. You progress, but you also return. Beginning and end are the same point. Arrival and departure are identical moments. I'm passing the blue RV now. Same family, same wave. I wave back, like I always do, like I always will, forever, in the loop, on I-90, between mile markers 227 and 230, driving, always driving, never arriving. Welcome to the Mobius Highway, where all routes loop back, where all drivers become echoes, where the journey never ends. Because it already ended, and it's just repeating now. Forever, I'm passing myself again. She waves, I wave back. We understand. We're both in the loop. We always have been. We always will be. Drive safe. Forever.